McLovin started to hide. We couldn't find him when Randy Couture came in. Paulie, who had mentioned that Randy Couture, the name sounded like a fashion name out of The Devil Wears Prada. Paulie backed away from Randy Couture. Yeah, it got real in here. There's the 6-time UFC champ joining us in the Man Cave. Bellator 140 goes down tonight. Mohegan Sun Arena here in Connecticut. It's live, free on Spike TV at 9 Eastern. It's a 5-fight welterweight showcase featuring some of the best 170-pounders in the world. He's Randy the Natural Couture. He'll be signing autographs, taking photos with fans at Mohegan Sun box office tonight. So let me start with, Paulie said that the name Randy Couture sounded a little fashion-like and Devil Wears Prada. What do you think?
Well, it's not Juicy Couture, but I do have a clothing line, Extreme Couture.
See?
Manufactured by Affliction, and I've been doing that for, 8 years.
And McLovin hid from you as soon as you walked in because McLovin still believes that he could train for... McLovin, do you want to try Randy now, or would you wait a little bit from what you've seen?
There's a lot of room on the carpet out there. I think we could get it done in that space.
Is that okay with you, McLovin?
Okay, if he's sitting right there about 15 feet away from me in a door...
Yeah.
And I can start running right now. Could I last 30 seconds?
How long would it take you to just take it? Let's say he's 10 feet away. And honestly, you look at him, you size him up. Mm-hmm. How long before it's over?
I think I could get to him in probably about 3 seconds.
He's down on the ground.
If he's 10 feet away,
yeah.
and then maybe another 10 seconds after that.
Yeah. Would he last longer than James Toney?
He might.
You're
He
overestimating
wouldn't spend
me,
as much energy as James did running his mouth.
Oh,
I
my
can guarantee
God.
you that.
But you find this argument, though, with boxers and how they would do if they were in the octagon. Mm-hmm. Why is that? Why do we look at boxers that they would somehow have an advantage over you guys?
They don't recognize the difference in the rules of engagement. And when I can grab a hold of you, I can hold you and punch you, I can throw you on the ground and tie you up, it changes things tremendously. When I can kick you, because there's a kicking range and a punching range, and if we were just going to punch each other, if it was just boxing rules of engagement, the boxer's going to win 9 times out of 10. You might get that MMA guy that's going to get lucky.
But Mike Tyson at his peak, let's just say.
Mike Tyson at his peak is still going to end up on his back, floundering around, trying to figure out how to get up off of his back so he could land that punch that he needs to land to end the fight.
But he would tap out.
I think he would, yeah.
How often are you challenged, even now? What are you, 52?
I'm 52.
Yeah. So how often, if I'm around you for a week, how many times do I hear, hey, you know what, I'd like a piece of you, or...
Never earnest challenges like that. It never happens. You get the offhanded comment. Oh, you ain't that big. You don't look that. I thought you'd be bigger. Things like that. But you just laugh, you smile, and I usually respond with, "Hey, I can change your perspective when you're laying on the floor, looking up at me. I look a lot taller." But it's never serious. No one has ever stepped across seriously.
But Stallone never wanted to try a little bit.
No, he's a huge fight fan, and I think a big fan of MMA. But I think he understands.
Anybody in the Expendables want a piece of you? Or if they did, it could be interesting.
No, I get to work a little bit with Dolph. Dolph is really the only guy in the cast that has any real combative
he's
sports
a big
experience. And he's a big, tall guy. He's got a ton of Kyokushin karate experience.
Yeah.
Super nice guy, very smart. And so I got to mess around with the pads and kick and goof around with him a little bit after the first movie. And it was a lot of fun. He's a great athlete.
What about Stone Cold?
I think if he was 10 years younger, he'd be fighting, to be honest. He's a huge fan of the sport. He asked me more questions about this guy and that guy, and he knew all the stats. Honestly, I think he would be fighting.
Fighting UFC?
Yeah, I think he would be trying to fight in MMA. He loves it that much, and he's obviously a great athlete, big guy. I think he would have forayed into mixed martial arts and gave it a whirl, but I think his body... at that point, when we worked together in Expendables 1, I think his knees were bad. He'd already had issues that would have kept him out of fighting.
How do you know when somebody knows something that can be dangerous? Because as I see you, I always look at a guy's ears. And I can tell a wrestler, and obviously MMA, UFC, your ears look like you've been in fights before, wrestling ears.
Absolutely. Cauliflower ears are an indicator that somebody spent some time on a mat or doing something.
But would you know,
but
could you look at that
you
and
have
tell?
a sense of people. The guys that you really have to worry about aren't the ones that are running their mouths and full of bravado and all that. They're generally going to back down or not last too long. It's a guy that doesn't say a whole lot. You gotta scratch your head and wonder, I don't know.
Anybody ever make you nervous?
No.
Never.
No.
But you're not allowed to have that feeling?
You're allowed to have. I don't think anybody that says they're not a little scared, there's not a little fear in there, but that's what motivates you to train so hard. That's what motivates you to learn the things you need to learn to solve the problem. Every guy you stand across from poses a problem.
But you're not
figure that
fearful of them? Like, what is your...
I never was scared I was going to get hurt or, yeah, it's going to hurt, but training hurts. Everything about the sport is physical, and your body is amazing. It adapts to all of those things that you put it through. So you kind of get used to that. You develop a pain threshold for that sort of thing. I remember the first time I kicked a bag, trying to learn to kick. And I was like, oh my God, that hurt. That hurt like hell. But eventually you get used to it. Your body gets accustomed to it, and you move on.
Do you cry easily? Like movies or anything? Like you're a softie?
I feel like as I've gotten older, that I'm like, what the hell's going on? It's Lassie, for crying out loud.
Because that would be a funny commercial where here you are, a bad dude, and all of a sudden we're looking over there and you got Kleenex and you're wiping tears away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a good one.
Do you want to wrestle somebody during the break?
Sure.
You do?
Sure.
Wow. Okay. Could you teach us how to take a punch?
How to take a punch? I mean, I don't really know how you take that. You try to avoid getting punched.
But you hit Paulie.
So learning to, roll your shoulders.
Yeah. Would you rather get hit in the head or in the gut, in the stomach?
Probably in the stomach.
Yeah, me too.
But I mean, a good liver shot will seize you up.
Have you ever made somebody cry in the ring?
Yeah, one person.
How'd that go?
Well, it was a tough fight, and he lost the fight, and he lost the title, and that's an emotional moment.
Oh, so he wasn't like crying and
hit him and make him cry. No,
okay.
it was more about
it was
the
emotional.
moment.
Yeah. Did you get in fights as kids?
No,
growing up?
I didn't. Maybe 2 times all through school, and one of those was in the 7th grade. It was getting bullied, getting picked on by an older kid. He'd been picking on my friends and picking on me, and I finally just had enough and kind of snapped and hit him with a double leg, put him on the ground on the playground, and started whacking away at him, and none of the other kids ever bothered me after that.
What did you think of USC when it first started? The idea of it, what attracted you to the sport?
I saw the application of more than 30 years of wrestling experience. I started wrestling when I was 10 years old, and wrestled at all the various levels, and it was a little bit different sport back then. And I saw other wrestlers like Mark Coleman and Don Fry competing in mixed martial arts. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. I want to try that. I saw them doing well and using their wrestling skills and representing the sport of wrestling that I came from in a very positive way. And I think a lot of times wrestling was the redheaded stepchild of the sports world. Nobody understood us. Oh, he's spitting in cups. He cuts weight. What the heck is all? They didn't get us. And so it was a chance for us to first be a professional athlete, which is, I think, a huge honor in our society, and second, to represent the sport that I loved.
Is blood good for the sport?
It's part of the sport. I don't know about good, but it's part of it. It's a contact sport.
Well, because people will talk about crashes in NASCAR or
guys
fights
lose
in
their
hockey.
arms, all those things. I mean, and I think the difference there is it's not part of the rules of engagement for those activities. It's what we do. We're fighters. So there's going to be some blood. Recognizing the difference between something serious and something that's going to require a few stitches that are going to come out in 9 days and everybody's going to walk away and be fine is the difference. And most people see blood and they freak out. They don't understand that it's not that big a deal.
When did you taste your first blood in the ring?
I tasted it on a wrestling mat as a kid.
Oh, okay.
Got a bloody nose, and it's like, it was part of life. I'd split my eyes open, and my ears obviously have taken a beating over the years, and so I tasted that first on the wrestling mat. So,
ever held a grudge outside of the octagon?
No, never really been.
Like if you saw somebody now, is there anybody that you'd be like?
I was always that guy that got along with everybody, smiling, easy to get along with, easygoing. I never really had carried around that kind of animosity.
What about somebody cocky who
it rose me the wrong way? Certainly. I mean, I fought Tito. They didn't get the bad boy, Huntington Beach bad boy. I mean, they don't get much cockier than that, really. But you know what you're in for. And I know it's all rhetoric and it's all part of his persona.
But did you like that he was like that?
Well, I gave it back to him a little bit, and I don't think he expected that from me. And then that had nothing to do with what was going to happen in the cage. And a lot of that is his attempt to distract you, make you emotional, make you think about anything but what you need to think about to beat him. And so I understood that. There's a psychology to fighting, to war as well. So.
How important is Ronda Rousey to the entire sport?
I think she's very important, especially right now with, changes in drug testing, guys acting up outside of the cage and all that. For someone to go and be as dominant in the sport as she's been and how she's represented not only the women's division in mixed martial arts, but the sport in general, inside and outside of the ring, the way she does, I think it's great.
We talk about performance-enhancing drugs in all sports. How prevalent do you think it is in mixed martial arts? Should we care that you have it in?
Well, I think our society cares, and I don't. I mean, there are guys that are always going to try to cheat. They're always going to try and find that corner they can cut that are going to give them that little bit of advantage. It's been going on at the Olympic and national and international level since the '60s, and that's why the IOC does testing and all of that. And MMA is no different. They started testing in 2000. The Athletic Commission's control. It has nothing to do with the promoters. And a pretty stiff penalty if you get caught. You're going to be banned from your profession for a year at least. And there's still guys that are trying to get away with it.
Do you ever want to fight Dana White?
I mean, it might be the one guy I have a little animosity towards. And just the way he's handled me and represented the sport, but no, it is what it is. There are all kinds of people,
but you didn't want a piece of him.
No, he's fairly predictable. You know how he's going to come across. He does it time and time again, so it wasn't a surprise.
But you're one of the legends. I mean, you're in the Hall of Fame. I mean, that this is big. This is important. Have you been treated the way you should be treated in this sport?
By the UFC, by the promotion I fought for most of my career, I would have to say no.
Why?
Because it's personal with Dana. I've never.
Were you too big?
I think I was one of the only guys, or the first guy, to stand up, had representation and management that understood what ancillary rights were and all these things that they're sliding into these contracts, and we fought for that stuff, and they didn't like it. I was never one of the boys, never one that would just sign it all over and let them do whatever they wanted. I wanted to control my own destiny. I saw myself as a brand and fought hard for some of that stuff, and they didn't like that.
If Dana White walked in here right now,
I would. It would be interesting to see how he would come across. It would really kind of depend on his demeanor, because I don't really have an issue with him. He's got an issue with me and me trying to take care of my career and do the things I need to do.
But even now, when you're not fighting,
he
still has a problem with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
I couldn't answer that. I can't speak for him.
Why don't you just say, let's get in the octagon here and settle this once and for all?
Tito and him had a beef,
yes,
and they were going to settle it that way. And I just thought that was the craziest thing ever. I mean, this is a lose-lose. This is one of your marquee guys.
Yeah.
If you beat him,
that's true.
What does that do for your brand? And even if he wins, who did he beat up? He beat up a 50-something executive.
That's true.
It was a lose-lose.
But now you guys are about the same age, you and Dana, aren't you?
I think I'm a little older than he is, actually.
How long would Dana White last with you in the Octagon?
Dana's a very good boxer. And I know that he's done some training in jiu-jitsu and stuff now since they've taken over the brand in 2000. So, I mean, I don't know what
60
kind of
seconds?
shape he's in now. I think I could probably, I don't think he'd last a round in a real fight with MMA engagement. Now, if it was boxing, I know he was going to box Tito, which I thought was a horrible idea because Tito's a great wrestler, and his striking is certainly adequate for mixed martial arts and gets him where he needs to be. But
best pound for pound fighter right now.
Oh my gosh, it's such a tough debate because you can make a case for so many guys.
Give me your top three.
Top three. I think you have to go right now with Weidman. I still, I mean, everybody's on Jose Aldo's back, but I still think pound for pound, he's one of the best fighters out there. He's amazing to watch.
What do you think of Conor?
I like the way he fights. He's a very dynamic fighter. I'm not a big fan of all the other stuff that he does beforehand, but he walks out there and he's dynamic. He's long. He's rangy.
Well, you just want to see it backed up. When guys talk, you want
to
see
and boy,
he backed it up.
He did.
He backed it up.
And when you don't, boy, do you look like a knucklehead.
He is one of the greats. He's Randy Couture, the six-time UFC champ. It's Bellator 140 going down tonight, Mohegan Sun Arena here in Connecticut. Live, free on Spike at 9 Eastern. It's a 5-fight welterweight showcase featuring some of the best 170-pounders in the world. And Randy will be there signing autographs, taking pictures with fans in front of the Mohegan Sun box office. Thanks for being a great sport, and thank you for coming in, Randy.
You bet. Pleasure. Thanks for having me.